Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to be doing multiple chores around our homestead. There's a lot of things that need to get done, and we're going to try to do as many things as possible. As you guys can see, this is the leftover soil we got from Foothill Soil when we installed the dirt lockers. We need to remove all the soil from the gutter. I don't know if you can tell, there's a gutter here. It needs to get removed so when it does start raining, the water can naturally flow and drain the proper way. What we plan on doing is moving some of the soil to some other areas of the property where some trees need a little bit of replenishing. Soil and Foothill Soil has been great to us. As you guys can see, some of the dirt lockers here are growing amazing plants. I have lots of basil. Basically anything that the gophers won't eat, it is thriving in the soil, so I'm very happy with it. What I plan on doing is moving some of the soil to some of my orange trees I have on the back side of the property. Some oranges back here are not tasting as good as I like them to, and I think it has to do with the watering and also with the soil that we have here. So I'm going to move it here, I'm going to pour it, I'm going to tilt the soil a little later and just give it a good watering. Eventually I'm going to want to get some mulch, that way I can cover this whole section. Look at how hard the soil looks here, and you can see there's a little bit of moisture where I removed the leaves. So I'm going to add this amazing soil so it could give it some nutrients and then mix it in eventually. As you can see here, I'm adding all of this amazing soil. Now, I'm not sure if I will be able to show when I removed it from the trunk. So just a reminder, if you add in any amendment to your plants, make sure you do not bury the trunk. Make sure to give it some space and build a little ring of good soil. That way it can breathe and not suffocate with the new soil. You also want to mix it, just because you don't want the good soil to be sitting on top and not really get into the soil where the roots are at. So just make sure you do that. Here is another tree that I need to start feeding. It had tons of fruit this year. Most of it got taken by the birds, which is fine, but I've seen trees that had a lot more, and I feel that it's all due to the soil. I've watered these areas and it just doesn't seem like the soil is absorbing the water as much as I want it to. But I know once I mix this in and loosen up the soil, the first layer, I know the water will be going down to the roots and helping the tree out a lot better. I do gotta say that this gorilla wagon has been so helpful. It's so easy to pull, especially these big wheels can just bounce or go over just about anything. I highly recommend one of these if you guys are in need to do multiple jobs such as us. I am not sponsored by them. I just really like the wagon. It's one of my favorite ones, and I drag it around everywhere. I'm not sure if you guys can see the piles of mulch that I have to the right far corner. Those are all the mulch I'm going to be distributing among my fruit trees that are already in the ground to help retain the moisture through these high heat days, and that way it can also start breaking down and feed the fruit trees at the same time. Now this job is not easy. This is true labor, piling up the soil onto the wagon, pulling it and moving it where you need to, especially when the distance is quite a distance. I'm hoping to get a quad where I can actually attach this little wagon to it and haul my whatever I'm hauling back and forth, whether that's the soil or the mulch or my tools or gravel, whatever it is, maybe even a tree if I'm moving it to a different location. It would be nice. to, you know, attach this to something and drive it instead of having to physically pull. I'm not gonna bore you too much with you watching me pour all this soil into this wagon and hauling it back and forth. I'm also adding some of the dirt or soil into some of the dirt lockers, as you guys can see, since they were kind of low and they were so close. Now that we finished at least removing the soil from the gutter, while we were standing there, we decided to try to do a hole for a plant. I actually want to put a loquat tree here because I have one on the other side of this hill, and I like to put one on each side of the dirt lockers. We attempted to dig a hole here, but as you guys know how it goes, our soil is extremely hard, and even though we have the auger, it was just nearly impossible to do it. We got about maybe 5 to 6 inches deep, small hole, and what I decided to do basically at the end, after attempting several times of, you know, digging up the hole and doing what we can manually and with the auger, we decided just to add some water eventually and let it sit for a minute and come back when we get a chance. Maybe I'll put some mulch to keep the moisture in there, and that way it allows it to get loose. Well, as that plan did not develop as I wanted to install a tree. We moved on to trying to install a tree in a different section in the garden. As you guys can see here, I'm trying to put a tree inside a dirt locker. The challenge here would be is trying to dig a hole narrow enough as the size of the dirt locker and do it deep enough. But as you guys can see here, that the auger is going to work a lot better here because the soil, it's a lot looser. It's been getting regularly water, and it had mulch over this particular dirt locker, so it is so much easier to dig holes here. And not to mention that the top 4 to 5 inch of soil was from foothill soil, so it was some good amazing soil, and it was a lot easier to dig up the hole. That top layer of foothill soils that I had in here allowed to absorb water and actually drain into the lower layer of the soil, so it was much easier to do this project. Now, we did encounter a large, substantial root. We couldn't believe it was there, but this whole hill was covered of oak trees years and years ago, and these oak trees eventually ended up dying. I mean, they haven't been here for years from previous owners who had to remove them due to, you know, them dying out and having to remove them. And I want to guess that that's one of the roots that just stayed underneath, just because they're so massive. I know they take multiple years to actually, you know, decompose and go into the soil.
Alright friends, so as you guys seen, we dug a hole in one of the dirt lockers. It didn't go very deep, which is okay. I think I'm going to be able to prune some of these roots, and I'm gonna do an experiment here today. I am not putting a cage underneath this just to see if maybe the rodents might not get to it. The only reason why I am giving this a try is because there's a root down below that's pretty much a wall in the dirt locker, and I feel that maybe because of that root, the rodent will tend to go around that area. So I'm gonna give it a try. Pineapple guava, it's not doing so well in the container. It really needs to be uppotted. I don't want to uppot it because I know I'm gonna put it in the ground. The hole can't get any bigger due to that root, and I'm just going to give it a try. I mean, this is what it's all about, experimenting, seeing how things work out, and you know, you win some, you lose some, and I'm gonna see how this turns out. If I put it in the hole without a cage, this tree is struggling. It needs to go into the ground. I'm going to basically use this tarp to haul it out there. You know, after growing so many fruit trees in containers, After a few years, you get to see which ones are really struggling being in a container, which ones you know that they just have to go into a much bigger container for them to fruit, and which ones will fruit in a fairly sized container such as this one. This is one of the trees that I have confirmed that, in my opinion, you have to put it in the ground or put it in a much bigger container for it to fruit. It's flowered 3 years in a row and it has not been able to hold the fruit, and I think it's due to the fact that it's not necessarily root bound, but it needs more moisture, which means I need to water it more often, and I don't have the time for that. So either put it in a drip, get a much bigger container, put a lot of mulch, and in this case I've done it all and it still hasn't held the fruit. So I am just gonna give it a try, put it in that hole and see what happens. This is all good soil right here. I'm gonna use it, but since this is it's a slope, I'm gonna just drag it out there. I'm gonna try to take some of that soil so I can fit it in the hole we dug up. It's gonna go into shock. I'm not worried about that. I might prune it back to make it look a little nicer, and it's gonna be fine. I'm not worried at all. The soil, since I've been putting water in there, some soil that I got from Foothill soil, it's such good soil. As you can see, everything I planted in there has been doing great. So I'm very comfortable putting this tree in there without adding any other amendments. This soil looks pretty good. I'm going to be watering it deeply, and I'm going to be putting mulch and maybe some short start. So let me go ahead and get this ready. So I don't know how I'm doing this. I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. So let's see how far I can drag it. Alright friends, so from this point on, I'm just going to carry it . Friends, look, it fit perfectly fine in there. Perfectly fine. I'm gonna make the wall slightly bigger. So it goes down a little bit.
my goal here is to get the soil we dug out back into the dirt locker. That way there's no air gaps here on this tree that I'm planting. I do want to mention at the beginning of this section where I was digging out this hole, you guys saw us pull up a plant. Some of you guys might wonder what that plant was. It actually was a tumbleweed, and it just overgrew. It really needed to go. Eventually it was going to dry out and turn into a ginormous messy tumbleweed. As you can see, it be here in the far left top corner. It was going to be a mess. So in case you guys were wondering what we pulled out of this dirt locker, a tumbleweed, not a very essential plant. So don't worry, I didn't pull anything important. Now that everything's said and done, I went ahead and got the drip irrigation that I had already set up for a previous plant here, and I went ahead and put it to ensure that this plant is that it's going to get water without me having to get up there and hand water it. So I went ahead and topped it off. As you guys can see with the soil, I stepped on it to ensure that it's compacted. The next thing I'm going to do is give it a good hand water to ensure that there's no air bubbles in this planting. I'm going to make sure that any soil that's loose in there, that it just kind of goes down. And if I need to add more soil, I will do so. And I want to make sure that I water it deeply before I put the mulch, because sometimes the mulch doesn't allow the water to distribute evenly, especially when the soil is dry. So I just like to do this step before adding the mulch, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't necessarily remember all the time, but I'm glad I did remember today. I'm also taking advantage of doing this since my hose has a little leak, and I put the little leak right where I want to dig the other hole. I don't know if you can tell behind me, but that's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell how messy this tree is. It has branches growing from down below all the way up the trunk, and ideally in the past I usually kept this tree like a lollipop tree. I've seen them grow very pretty like a lollipop, so that's my goal. Since I have it in the ground, I feel that it's going to thrive. Not to mention that when you transplant a tree to a new location, give it some relief by removing some of these branches, so it has to sustain less leaves and less branches. And I am just chopping and dropping. I am going to use all of these little leaves that I removed from the trunk, from the lower part of the trunk, and making it into a mulch. I'm also removing some of the long branches. That way I can encourage some more branching so it will get bushier and prettier. As you can see, it already looks so much better. I'm so excited.
Hey friends, I'm noticing that the deers are coming by and really enjoying this loquat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 3-in-1 plant guard to protect this tree, to hopefully deter the deers from snacking on this plant. I let them chew up a lot of the plant. In fact, they gave it a pretty nice trim, made the tree look more even and more round. It's like they kind of knew what they were doing. But now it's getting to the point where I don't want them to, I think I broke this. I don't want them to go anymore. So there we go. I think I broke the handle. There we go. I broke the handle, so I'm gonna go away from the wind. Hopefully this helps prevent the deers from them. some of the other chores I have going on, I'm going to trim any trees that have any broken limbs. This tree got damaged by a bird or something, I'm not sure what. So now it's becoming a dwarf tree, which is perfectly fine because I want them to be short anyways. And I'm seeing a lot of damaged trees such as that one. Let's move on over here so I can show you guys. Like always, I'm multitasking. I'm watering my plants as I do my little chores. Let me show you guys over here. This one's broken, so I'm just going to trim it. Anything else that I see broken, like this one, it's broken. Do it at an angle so it doesn't get any water damage. They're all over the place. Let's continue looking for more damaged branches. Nothing over there, which I'm surprised. Over here I have some. Let's come over here so I can show you guys. This tree, I think the crows got to it. Look at that. So this was completely torn. It's been like that for a minute, but I just haven't had the time to really spend doing this. So here I am trying to do a few chores at a time. I've been going at it all day. Feels really good. I haven't been out here for a while, so I'm super happy to be able to do this today. Any more broken? Let's see. Anything else? Let's keep looking over here. Let's go over here. Before I continue, let me switch the water to another one. Okay. Let's go over here. So I have a lot of little trees that I need to put in bigger pots, which I'm going to try to do that tomorrow. But as you guys can see, let me show you guys. You guys see this? Damage. At an angle, cut. What else? This one, look at that. I've been felling my trees really bad, guys. I feel terrible, but it is what it is. It's life. So I'm gonna repot this one. This is my Mexican Guava. I am so sad that I let it dry out. My white Guava. This is going in a bigger container so it can grow over the winter. It's evergreen, so it'll be doing a lot of growing. I mean, it'll be slow growing, but it'll still be growing. Let's see if I can find any other broken limbs. No, we're good on this one. Oh, look at this one, guys. Come and see. I think the crows were just messing with these trees. I don't know if you can see this. See that? Well, it has to go. Remember, cut it at an angle. Let's just stick it in here for now. Maybe it will root. Sometimes they're pretty good at rooting. Anything else? For the most, oh, very important. Let me show you guys. All right, friends. So I should have done this a long time ago. You see all these suckers? You guys need to cut them down. Do not let them get the best of your tree. Cut them down because it's going to take all the energy from your tree. Ah, hit my head. So just make sure that you would get in here. I brought a little bit of compost. I'm going to amend the soil all around here. And look at all these suckers. You don't want to leave those on your tree because you want your tree to focus all its energy on the upper part of the tree, not those little suckers. So if I were you, I would do this sooner than later. Do not do what I've done, kept it all summer long. I would take them down as soon as I see them. And they won't be this hard to take off. Oh, I just stabbed myself. Okay, let's see. Look at this. Try to go as slow as you can. Alright. Should be good, friends.
Now, this is what I was talking about. I'm going to have to loosen up the lower, or the, I guess you should say, the top layer of soil that my orange trees are in, and mixing it in with the soil I added. And that's what I'm trying to do here with this very vintage fork tool that I found around the property, and it works amazing. I wonder if they still sell these, because this is such a great tool. Anyways, that's what I'm going to be doing here, and hoping that this tree can provide some more tastier fruit this upcoming season. I do have to give it a trim, but I need to find like a little handsaw that I can actually go into the branches and start cutting all these little dead branches. It's very hard to do it with your cutters just because it's very messy in there. So if you guys know of a little handsaw that I can actually get in there with and use it to, you know, easily cut these little ugly branches and make this tree a lot cleaner. Now keep in mind, this tree is super tall. I want to say it's about 10 to 12 feet tall. So I'm gonna probably have to get a ladder tall enough to do that as well.
Morning, friends. So today is the second day of doing all these chores around the homestead, and one of the chores that I need to do today is feed my bees some syrup that I prepare, half sugar, half water. And I'm gonna do that first, that way the bees can get to work. I'm trying to prep them for the winter to make sure that they have enough food stored for the winter. I've been letting all of my basil go to flower so that way they can eat. I'm still a little nervous around the bees because I'm not all that used to them, so I'm going to wear the suit. I'm gonna plant some seeds today, and I am going to transplant a Mexican or white guava that I have that is not doing well, that due to my neglect and not being able to like keep up with the watering. So I'm gonna see how many of those trees I can transplant, how much soil I have for them, and hopefully that helps me get set up for the winter. That way they can make it over the winter, and then next year, next spring when it comes around, I can start putting more trees. I put my pineapple guava in the ground. That video is coming up, and I may just include it with this one. We'll see how long all the chores I've been doing over the last 2 days took. So in case I start pulling out some, what do you call them, some frames, I'm gonna take that with me. And I'm trying to do this first before I get all sweaty and dirty, and before it gets any warmer, because that way I don't have to be in the suit when it's super hot. So let's go ahead and take care of that, and let's continue with the chores of the day. Let's go. So as you guys can see, there's tons of mulch here. Actually, this whole corral was full of mulch, and we had one of our neighbors who was very nice enough to come and help us spread it all out, and then they delivered some more. I'm hoping to get my tractor running here soon. If you guys know anyone here in Southern California who can help me get it running, I would greatly appreciate it. But for now, I am just hauling buckets of mulch to the areas where I need. Yesterday I was spreading, this is one of the things I didn't record, I was spreading the mulch up into those trees. If you can see those little piles. This one I didn't get to it because I was just done after trying to spread the mulch. And as you guys can see, here is my beehive. I'll put you guys over here so you guys can see me take care of this. I'm gonna put my head cover. You can see that they're coming in and out of the entrance They're trying to get their job done. And let's get going so we can continue on to the next thing. Oh no, the Velcro ruined my pretty braid. I'm not gonna use the smoker because I'm not planning on being here too long. I'm gonna check to see. I forgot one of the most important tools, so I'm going to come back, which is the metal tool that helps separate them. So I'll be back. Alright friends, so I went ahead and grabbed this sauna. Hopefully it helps me pour it a lot easier in there. Grab this because it's very essential. And I haven't given this a try, so I'm going to give it a try today. See how they're doing. And to this day, I still have not seen the queen. So I'm looking forward to one of these days seeing the queen. I moved this box so they can start. Let's see if they've done anything. Oh. Alright, so there's not much to see there. I'm going to cover this. Because where I really want to get to is down here where I put the syrup tray. Just going to hopefully not drown them. There isn't many in there, so I'm just going to do this slowly. In case you guys are not familiar with this, which as you guys know, this is all new to me, I want to share it with you guys. Let me show you. Hope you guys can see. So the water or the sugar flows, and I'm just going to try to fill it. It holds 1 gallon. I see a little bee struggling right there, so I'm going to try to get her out. Oh, she got herself out. I don't know if you guys saw that. Good job, little bee. So now, to my surprise, the last time I filled this up, within 2 days, this was gone. So I'm not sure how often we have to fill it up. It's been a week. If you guys know how often this needs to be filled so they can be ready, from what I've been reading, I think you're supposed to do it as soon as it's emptied out. You're supposed to try to fill it up. I'm not sure if that works. I've been leaving all my basil go to flower so that way they have something else to work with. And as you can see them, look, they're drinking right there. They're enjoying that water. I'm gonna try to squeeze this one this way. So the upper brood, there's some activity, which is good, not a whole lot, so hopefully they can start working the top. So I'm just gonna let them be so they can enjoy that water, and that's really just what I needed to do today. I might come back here in a few days and give them another gallon now that I... Hey friends, so I already put some seeds to get some kale, and I put some seeds to get some Brussels sprouts. We love eating Brussels sprouts, so I'm going to focus on the things we enjoy doing. I'm going to put some cilantro right here, and I had my onions here. I already harvested them. This one went to seed, so I cut already the big flower that was there. I'm saving it for the seeds, and I'm just gonna give it a try to see if I can grow things from seeds. Since it's still warm enough, it'll germinate, and it's about to start cooling down, so I'm just going to, you know, make a little trench here. The soil's pretty moist, and just throw some seeds in there and see what happens. I'll still try to grow some with the grow light. Where am I? There it is. And we'll see. It's the time to put seeds in the ground because seeds do need some sort of warmth to germinate. But we all know that cilantro doesn't like, it likes cold weather. So I am going to germinate them now, and it is starting to get pretty cool, so I think that by the time they get established, the cool weather will be here. So I'm just gonna spread them out to see what pops up. And I'm just going to cover it. And then just cover it with the mulch. There's a drip system going there. I'm going to do the same on this side for cilantro. You guys can see. It's getting a lot of water here. I hear a lot of buzzing because I'm right next to the basil, and there is tons of bees. Actually, before I grabbed the camera, I was standing here just hypnotized by the sound and the flowers and all the bees. I can tell that there's some bees that are native and some bees are from my beehive. You can tell by their color. I mean, I can't tell which ones are, I can't tell that they're all from my beehive, but I can tell that some of them are a bit darker than the ones I have in my beehive, which is pretty interesting because they're so dark. I'm like, wow, you can tell they're not part of the beehive. So, well, that zucchini kept getting eaten by rodents, you know, like the bunnies and the squirrels, and I saw it trying to come back, so I decided to cage it up and see what happens. I mean, it's worth a try. Pretty sad that I didn't get any zucchinis this year, but it is what it is, friends. You win some, lose some. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get some cilantro going. Even over here, let's see. Look at all the bees. I'm gonna just put some cilantro here. I should probably add more soil to this. I'm gonna let it be. I'm gonna fill it up with more soil right there. But these bees are, they're loving this tomatillo plant that I have here. I'm gonna put some cilantro right there. I don't know if you guys can hear all the buzzing. I'm gonna bring you guys a little closer so you guys can see. Completely covered with bees. They don't even care that I'm here. They are just so focused on the nectar that this little tomatillo flower is providing. There's a tiny little bee. Look at that one. Anyways, friends, so I put some seeds in the ground. I'm going to just continue with my chores. I'm trying to get out of here by, it's 10. I'm trying to get out of here within the next hour so I can go inside before the heat runs high and I can actually rest. I go back to work tomorrow, so I like to get some of my laundry done. Look at that one. Do you see that one? How dark it is? Yeah, and I like to get some of my laundry done and get my things ready for the next day because I'll be working 16 hours, so I need to get things done. But look at how amazing these bees are. I don't know if you guys can hear the buzzing. It's amazing. Look at that moringa. All right, guys, enough of this. I've got to continue working. Let's go on. All right, I just can't help myself. You guys have to look at this amazing basil plant. It's ginormous, and look, there is bees flying everywhere. They're super excited to be here and to have some actual All right.